From the Daily Mail, it's true. The White House is making phone calls. Now, at least there's a couple people who have claimed they've had private meetings with people in the administration on the issue of Epstein. Of course, the Mail buries the story, which is pertinent to the public, but they go on to mention way down below, Tim Dillon, now this story most people know, met with J.D. Vance. And Vance said they do not have videos of any powerful person in a compromising position. That's the party line before marking with skepticism. That's the party line they're going with. What I told Vance is that if you don't disclose everything, you're done. Nobody will support you guys. You are fully and completely part of this cover-up if everything doesn't come out. I think it paralyzes their presidency, said Dillon. Alex Jones appeared in his podcast on Monday to say that he, too, has been contacted by the White House. I've had the White House call up and be like in the last week, what do you want? Jones said, I want you to do what you were elected to do. Dillon replied, they want this to go away, but it's not going to go away until they disclose the information they have. The Daily Mail can also report that White House reached out to Charlie Kirk, the highly influential leader of the youth movement organized under TPUSA. I am not minimizing this, Kirk said in his podcast. I am just the messenger here. I am simply the interlocutor. The young men and the Gen Z audience that I represent, they are flaming mad about this stuff. Kirk explained the conservative people he speaks to refuse to drop the issue because they want to go after the deep state of the government. Trump, increasingly irritated at the fixation of erstwhile allies, picked up the phone to Kirk. A day later, Kirk appeared to backpedal. Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. Now, I want to clarify this. He was referring to on the show at that one moment. Basically, like when we talk about stories and say, okay, we're going to wrap that story up for now and move on, they're making it seem like he was saying, I'm done with the issue. Right. He wasn't. They're going to mention that Bondi and Blanche said in the coming days they would be speaking with Ghislaine Maxwell. And you guys get the point. For his part, Cernovich told the Daily Mail he had not been leaned on by anyone in the White House to stop talking about Epstein, and added that he would refuse to do so if asked. He warned this might be the only issue where the MAGA base will truly assert itself. On about any other issue, Trump can drive the train wherever he wants, not on Epstein. I do believe the White House is probably making phone calls to various influencers. We are not included in that. Nobody's called me. Why not, huh?
I'm not an influencer.
How come they don't call me? You say, Tim, why, you know, and I get people commenting saying Tim got the call, and I'm like, I wish.
I thought they passed a note when he was in the White House briefing room to give this to Tim.
They called Candace Owens about calling Bridget McCrone a man, but they won't call me about this stuff. Come on. They didn't invite me to this either, and I can't remember who I was talking to. I was talking to another personality, and when the story broke, literally the day of, I was talking to Cernovich as well as a couple others, and I got some of the information that they had put out before the embargo was lifted. And I was speaking with another journalist, and we were both kind of like, yeah, they wouldn't invite us something like this because we wouldn't adhere to an embargo on something like that. And if you didn't, it would have busted their campaign. Because what they did was they brought everybody in, gave them binders, and said, wait until after the press conference with Keir Starmer before you talk about this. Then they shuttled them out the door in front of all of the fawning press, where they all took pictures of them with the binders. Then they said, don't talk about it for several hours. If those individuals took that binder and said, I will not embargo this, and opened it up, they would have been like, this is all publicly available information. You've given me nothing. And it would have immediately spoiled. If one person, one influencer went in there and said, this stuff is already been publicly disclosed and unredacted, all the rest of them would have been like, whoa, I'm not doing this. So they chose the people they thought wouldn't play hardball. Cernovich, to his credit, is actually in the photos walking away. Yep. It appears he's trying not to be caught because he's like, I want to read this and be respectful. And then once he did, again, he contacted, I reached out. I think I reached out to him or he reached out to me. I can't remember. I think he reached out to me. Yeah. And was like, yo, check it out. Almost right away. And we were like, okay, I don't know what's in those binders yet, but we got this letter that said that the information was being withheld by SDNY. And then sure enough, I think the first person to post the letter was Benny Johnson. Almost immediately now, and everyone laughed because they're like, oh, Benny broke the embargo. But now the embargo's broken, it's fair game. But I think, the people they brought in, I don't want to disparage any of these people. They are who they are. I think Cernovich does great. I'm a big fan of Cernovich, actually. I respect him a lot.
He's awesome.
But there are a handful of people that are smiling and dancing around and waving these things in the air, seemingly more excited that they're included than that they're going to be part of any kind of accountability, of which we never got any. So it looks like, at least to a certain degree, there is evidence that the White House is making phone calls to people to try and control the narrative. They're very upset about this.
Yeah, I mean, the Cernovich thing, that was just such a self-own if you're like a White House press person, because that's like, if you're thinking of the Epstein story, Cernovich is like one of the top guys. I mean, it'd be like getting Greta Van Susteren to like drop the white girl in Aruba, whatever that case was. It's like, that's like the thing. He's not going to drop that. So that was like a total self-own. And then, yeah, like you said, the other guys that came along and they're smiling, it's like, yo, this is a case about like molestation, like child crimes, and crimes involving children, and they're like smiling and just like, this is the greatest thing ever, like it's a red carpet, and I'm just.
It was like an F you to the press.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like this is like something super heinous, which everyone knows.
That's the problem. I was talking about this the last week I was on. I was like, look, people, there's like a disconnect once you start working in this medium. There's a disconnect between the heinousness of crimes or the seriousness of the policies and the things that are being discussed and your ability to relay that information. Back in the day when it was through corporate press, you had a guy in a suit, it was all vetted through however many sources. Now, most of it was narrative bullshit, as we know, that, was fed to people in a certain way. But nowadays, it's very hard for people to tell the difference between what they're looking at through social media influencers and somebody who's like a news influencer. Right. And it just doesn't feel like it takes that same rigorous tone, even if we know that the rigorous tone of old was all mostly just corporate approved slop as well. But it feels different now. And for those people who are in this sphere, sometimes you lose sight of the fact that what you're looking at affects real lives.
Yeah.
Real people were harmed. Real things happened.
And like normal Americans aren't in on the bit.
Yeah.
They're like, we want to figure out what happened. Like, I get it's like a middle finger to the press or whatever. It's like, we don't really care what your relationship with the press is like. We want to figure out what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm still of the opinion that they've got to release as much information as they can.
So, okay. So you were saying that the people that you talked to, you said 72 people, you asked them about it, all of them said...
That's a small portion.
Yeah, but they said that it doesn't matter to them. They don't care. They don't believe it anyways.
They don't, it's not that
they don't believe
care that kids got hurt. Like
they don't believe that it's true.
Yeah, it's not that. It's just that it doesn't rise to the top of...
Well, they don't see how it affects them.
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to.
That's as you can take that as simply as why they've never bought into the whole press and push on climate change.
Yeah.
That that doesn't affect their lives. It's not that they don't care about the climate. They do. They don't want the earth to, to catch on fire or whatever.
It depends on, I think when it comes to climate, and I'm not trying to derail here, but I think when it comes to the climate change stuff, that really depends on your age. Like I remember when Al Gore put out The Inconvenient Truth in 2006, and all of the world was supposed to be underwater by now. Like the world was supposed to have ended. And when I was a kid, in the 80s when I was a kid, it was the coming ice age and how bad everything was going to freeze. So you have to. I
think Democrats should roll with the pole shift thing, and just start being like, yes, we need more solar panels and electric vehicles because the axis, the Earth is tilting.
Yeah.
And to your point also, like I imagine that if you ask those same people about like the Obama scandal, they'll say, maybe I think he's guilty, but it doesn't really change my life. It doesn't put money in my pocket. It doesn't change the economy.
And I always thought he did that anyways.
Yeah. So,
right. I always believed he did that anyways. And so I'm not shocked. Right.
Yeah. Well, you have this thing where it's like with normal Americans, they've seen cover up after big story that doesn't go anywhere. So they're at the point where they're just like, I'm sure they believe everything that happened to the Epsteins, but it's like they know they're not going to get anything. So what's the point of clamoring on about it? There's bigger fish to fry.
Right. And they've got real problems that they're really dealing with. And this is something that happened far away. And they don't trust that my profession has comported it in a way that is has the intellectual vigor that it deserved.
Yeah.
And so they just have no trust in my profession. I mean, it really comes down to that.
So then I have a question, and I'd like to hear everyone's input on this. Gen Z is the generation that cares the most about the Epstein stuff if you go by, polling data and stuff. Gen Z's also the generation that has the most economic anxiety. They have the least actual material possessions. Why is it that Gen Z has the most significant problems when it comes to the economy, but this is also the thing that resonates with them the most?
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.